everybody, and welcome back to Indie Corner Radio. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got a very special guest. This is the first time in a while that I've actually got to chat with a comedian. Please welcome Liz Miele. How you doing, Liz?
I'm lovely. Thank you for asking.
Definitely. First of all, I want to say I'm a really big fan of your work. I discovered you, like I think a lot of people have, through like Facebook Reels, and they just keep popping up even when I'm not expecting them. They'll pop up, and I'll be like, oh, and they'll be like, here's another like, or whatever. So, is first of all, is that did that take a while before like that sort of started happening for you?
Um, I guess in some way, I mean, I was a very early adopter of social media, so I feel fortunate that in some ways I've become an invasive species amongst, all social media because uh, what most comedians are doing in the last year or two, I've been doing for the last 15 years.
Mm.
And I kind of when you have to uh, learn a new skill, you sit down and you have to learn everything at once, and it's really overwhelming. I kind of just learned as I went because I was kind of at the beginning of social media and using it as a tool to sell your stuff, sell your art, what have you. I just kind of always keep up on the trends and how the algorithm changed and all that stuff. So I never really have to learn a lot. I just kind of add to what I already have, and I've been able to keep up with it in a way that people that are just realizing that it's an asset today can't really do. So I think in some of the ways I've stayed afloat in people's feeds is because I kind of have this system down, like a well-oiled posting machine.
Nice. Yeah, were you on like MySpace back in the day?
I would say that was a little too early for me to understand. Like I was on it, but I didn't know what to do with it. It was actually Facebook and early Instagram and YouTube really like my first posting was on like decent but like I was posting like what spots I was going to have on Facebook, but that's not interesting. It was really when Instagram started having video, when Twitter was actually embedding YouTube as well as like Facebook embedded YouTube. Now they have all their own video whatever things, but I was an early adopter of YouTube and Instagram video in a way that put me on a fast track that most people didn't know at the time.
Oh, definitely. I was thinking like MySpace, and I was like thinking of Friendster. I'm a little older than you, just a couple of years older than you, I think.
Mhm.
But like when that started, I think 2004 or five or whatever, when I started really like using MySpace or whatever, I never thought like that's when I started to like I'm gonna use this as somewhat networking, and everything. And I think that's what it was supposed to be for. Now it's all weird. It's all everywhere, It's
I mean, now I think what always kind of makes things unfun is when corporations get involved, you
hmm
know, because, MySpace really launched a lot of bands and it was for you to, and like, Dane Cook very famously was one of the first comedians to utilize it for comedy. And then, Facebook was super helpful early on. Instagram was really helpful. But then, like anything, things get saturated, right?
hmm
As well as now, you're seeing ads like it makes you kind of crazy. You buy a pair of shoes, and the next thing you know, you get ads for the same shoes. And it's like, guys, I already gave you my money. I bought the shoes. What are we doing here? Why are you telling me about the shoes I know about because I just bought them? So it just gets to a point where it gets cluttered with like ads and 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 corporate crap. And the way the algorithm has changed is it used to be you saw my comedy, you followed me, and you get to see my comedy because you decided you wanted to see my comedy.
hmm
Now it's like you follow me and maybe you see my stuff for a couple of weeks, but if you don't interact with it, you'll never see me again. And then they'll start showing you stuff that's like either me adjacent or you don't even see comedy anymore. You just, again, see these shoes and pants that you bought and they're just inundating you with ads. So it's really taken something that was organic and fun and you were able to like have a little bit of a pile of the stuff that you like, whatever it was, art, music, shoes, whatever, and now it's just become an ad machine.
I love now like because I'll do that, like I'll see the same ad for something I bought. Timu, especially, like that's the worst. Like just
Yeah.
keeps popping up. If I like interacted with it once, it's like a
Yeah, this is your life
virus,
now.
you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So I'll click it now where I'll just say I don't want to see this ad anymore. And
Yeah.
they don't show up again. And I'm like, thank you. Like I
Yeah,
like
this is a
block an
great
ad.
button.
Yeah, this is the most amazing button. And I will do that. Uh, Especially like there's just a lot of videos and stuff that I'm just not interested in or whatever. But then I discovered your comedy through there, so it's a wonderful thing at times because the
Yeah.
algorithm now knows. Like I think it was because I would watch like John Mulaney and then I'd watch Taylor Tomlinson, and all of a sudden it would be like, oh, here's Liz,
Yeah.
here's Natalie Cuomo, here's all
Yeah.
these other comedians I'd never heard of who are at the time, now like I'm a really big fan of, and I just love that. I think that's great.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. It's just funny when it like one it's interesting because obviously I take in a lot of comedy because one I love it, but two all my friends do it, and then the algorithm is like you like this, you like this, and I'm like he's my narch emesis. Why are you recommending? Like it is so funny where I'm like actually you know nothing about me algorithm. I personally hate this person.
It does that same thing for me. Are you, for some reason it just froze for a second. Are you there?
Oh, can you see me?
Yeah,
Or
well,
it's
okay, there.
freeze?
Okay, that's
Okay.
good. So yeah, so no, because I'm a filmmaker too, right? So like, and they're interestingly enough, we have arch enemies as well.
Yeah, of
People we
course.
just don't
Everyone,
like.
you have to. How do you
Yeah,
get through the day if you don't hate someone?
right. But it's like, I mean, it's a mutual hate. We both hate each other, so
Oh,
it's not
good. No,
like,
that's
it's not like I hate somebody and they don't hate me. So,
yeah.
but I'm such a people pleaser that sometimes I want them to like me, like
Yeah, of course.
secretly, or whatever. And I'm like, so I don't know how that is with, in comedy. I never even thought about that because I don't know. I always see comedians always having to be up, with each other and everything. Always like gotta like,
Well, I mean,
perform.
and my number of people I dislike is very small. Like I feel very fortunate to be in a community of really talented people and really thoughtful people and really nice people. But there's egotistical people and there's assholes and every community has the person that, you know, people are like, why is this person successful? They're such a douche. So I think and I don't get like I'm not a revengeful person, but I also don't need to be reminded that this person that's a bad person is also super successful. So it's also a kind of thing where it's like for my mental health, I don't want I love that my cats are just losing their minds behind me.
Mhm.
But I don't want to be reminded. And also like I I I've I think social media is a way to curate the things that make you feel good and the things that you care about. So like I'm watching like cat videos. I love art. I love pottery. I love handmade stuff. Like I open it up and I see funny things and cute things and creative things. And then when it pops up and it's somebody that like kind of once made my day worse or for years made my day worse, that's not like this. I'm in my own home and I'm just reminded of a bad day. I don't like that. So I think it is a little bit like uh you're curating your feelings in your free time and that is a safe space and you want to protect it.
Do you have any like tricks for you to get over that? Like, is there a time where, when you see that person on there and you're like, oh man, I don't want to be reminded of this. Is there something you do to
You can
just get
say
your,
like you said, I don't want to see this anymore. That helps. Sometimes like I think on Facebook they only mute it for 30 days and I was like, "Oh, this isn't a 30-day hate, by the
yeah.
way. This is lifelong." Um but you can keep saying I don't want to see this. I mute a lot of people because there's also the other idea of like you have to protect like I am very happy for the friends and peers that are doing well, especially when I like them as people and I think they're really talented. But I'm not going to pretend I don't get hurt or sad when, because I like to think I'm a nice person and talented. Where I'm not, I just don't want to be reminded, and so I don't want them to think I don't like them because I do. But I'll mute a lot of people and just take a break from their success because I don't need to be reminded every day as I'm working on my own success.
Hmm.
So I'm a big fan of just muting for your own mental health. I'm a big fan of like if you can take a break. It's kind of hard to take a break of social media when that's your like number one way of advertising your work, you know?
I feel the same way. Like it's hard for me as because I do podcasting, but I do filmmaking, I do all this other, do way too much probably. But and then a lot of days I don't want to do anything, which I'll get into in a second with you because I wanna ask you a big question about that. But I do that. Like I'll do all that stuff, and I'll be tired, and I'll be like like strung out from this stuff. And I'm just like, and then I want to mute everybody. But then again, I can't because then I can't promote my podcast. I can't let
Yeah.
people, and even though it's to me, I'm not a huge, you know, following, but you have to keep working at it. You can't quit, on it and everything. So it's kind of a
Yeah, and I
double-edged
think
sword.
for sure. And I think you have to find I think there's certain times that you can like I gave myself boundaries like I answer a lot of messages. I try to get back to people. I try to be interactive and um keep in touch with people in a way that I feel is authentic, but there needs to be boundaries on it. So there's days and times that I don't do it because even though my inbox might be flooded or I feel like there's things I have to do. There's also like everybody else gets to clock out. I also have nobody's going to tell me to clock out but myself. So I
Hmm.
also think it's about setting up your own hours in quotations too.
And that's kind of what I was gonna like allude to is like because you do a lot too, you don't it's not just going comedy, you do your shows, you write, you podcast, all this different stuff. Is there any days like sometimes where you're just like, I don't want to do anything. Like I just want to,
Oh, all the
relax.
time. I think that's why like I try to be strategic a little bit and plan it out. So like there's days that I do editing, there's days that I do writing. There's uh and like some stuff is easier to do brainless than others. Like editing a clip is a lot easier to do than maybe writing. And then some days writing is a lot easier to do than organizing. Like whatever it is that I have to do for this as like a whole business, sometimes when I can't be too brain dead when I'm like booking my flights because God knows I've booked the wrong times and the wrong days before. uh, the very recently have done that where like the day of I'm like, why didn't I get a check in? Oh, that wrong month, Liz. Cool job. Um, but like there's certain like levels of tired that I might mix up and do something different because I'm exhausted, or there's certain things that are easier for me to do, and then there's also days where I'm like I just need a break and I'm going to do nothing. And I think you have to listen to yourself again because there's nobody that's going to tell you to take a break when it's your art and your business.
Right. And I mean, you are a business person. Like you're definitely somebody who knows about that stuff and everything. And I really admire that actually because, it's tough. It's not easy to know like, how many clips you need to have to get this stuff and need to, be able to like I heard one of your interviews and you were talking about how you went out to like you had to book Toronto and stuff like that on your own and everything. That's work, like that's a lot of work.
Yeah, and it sucks because it's like it feels like it's invisible work because you can't fully tally what is work. You know what I mean? So like
Mm,
I'm editing a clip to post to tell people I'm going to Denver, right?
mm.
So it's like you hope people see it. You hope that's how they get the message out. I'm making events. I'm, editing something. I'm writing. I'm posting it here. I'm putting out newsletters. Like there's all this little stuff you do and you're kind of just throwing shit at the wall hoping people know or find out you're going to be in Denver. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the reason, besides people actually physically showing up to my shows, but people would be like, oh, I saw you on Reddit, or I found your stuff on Facebook, or I saw your thing on this podcast. And like, that's how you get the little trickle down. But, the amount of podcasts I do, the amount of, you know, free shows I do, the amount of, bookings that like there's all this little stuff that I do throughout the day that where the day just kind of gets away from me, but it all supposed to add up so that people come to the show and I make money that weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Um, And I love that because you're kind of like a rock star in a way. Like that's what a comedian is, right? Like instead of performing music, you're performing your stand-up comedy. So you are a rock star. You go out there and you perform to like a huge event or something, like a sold out show or whatever. And it's tough because I've seen both sides. Like I've seen musicians as well, and I follow some musicians who are just rising, and it's a lot of work because they got to have fans, and they got to tell those fans come to this show at this time, and then they hope that people will show up. What if nobody showed up, right? That would
Yeah.
suck, and
Yeah.
everything. That would just, I mean, that's also bad for a person's ego, right? Like, period.
Yeah, and it's we take a lot of like some places they pay for travel and hotel, some places don't. Some places you take a really low guarantee hoping that people show up. Sometimes you only make money if a certain number of people show up. Like it there's a lot of risk involved, and I don't really do ads. I've always struggled with doing them and feeling, one, I don't feel like the metrics are reliable, but two, I haven't seen it worth it. But there's also people that pay hoping that they make the money back and they don't. Like there's so much putting your putting yourself out there creatively, but also putting yourself out there financially just so people can see your creative work.
Definitely. Yeah, and if you say I'm going to be out in Denver, that's the hope because you're putting a lot of work and time and money and all that stuff into it, and I'm guessing that sometimes it works really well and sometimes sadly it doesn't, and then you just gotta keep going, right?
Yeah.
And you've been doing this for what, 18 years? Is that what I heard? 20 years, maybe?
23.
23 years.
Yeah.
Since you were 16?
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I heard that, and I heard also like I mean I heard the big story about George Carlin. We don't have to go into that. They can check that out on Natalie's podcast because that was a great story there. But I do want to say like that's sort of what I did a lot when I started doing stuff. When I started doing interviews, I would just ask people for advice. It was easy then to send messages to emails to people because people were the early times the emails people would just send their email out and everything. I think I got Paul Feig. I think he sent me a message back
I love
once.
Paul Feig. He's so
Yeah,
talented.
he is. He's wonderful and he was very nice and this was when he had put out his book, his first book that he did.
You
And
know what's funny about that? Judd Apatow was the second person. So I wrote the only two people out of like the 45 emails I sent when I was 15. It was George Carlin calling me and Judd Apatow emailed me. And this was after Freaks and Geeks, but before Undeclared. And he still had his email on his website. That's how early it was.
I wish I kept my email from Paul. I don't think I did, unfortunately. And that really
I
kind of
printed all my George Carlin emails.
see that was smart. I just didn't.
I'm a very sentimental lady, so I was like I still have his phone number in my phone. It's like why would why
Yeah,
would I do that?
why would you get rid of it?
Yeah,
He was one of those entertainers who and just the way you talked about him, how nice he was, and
the
how
kindest person. It's to think like I'm overwhelmed now, right? Like and I can't even like nowhere even close to where he was as a legend and how busy he was. So I'm overwhelmed now. And for him to have called me back, consistently write back to me, return my emails and like I was profiled in the New Yorker when I was 18 and I mailed him the magazine because I thought he would, and I was about handing out flyers to get stage time. It was called Barking and he had never heard of it. He called me up to be like, "This is so good. Thank you for sending to me. This is so cool. I didn't know what barking was." Like it was like surreal. And when he eventually gave me his email and what have you, like the last email I sent to him was after I got my first TV credit. I filmed a 10-minute set on Comedy Central. It was coming out that Friday. And I emailed him to let him know it was coming out, and he emailed me back to be like, I can't wait to watch it. And then, of course, he didn't let me know that he was in the hospital. It was supposed to be
Oh,
something that was routine, and he ended up dying um, a couple days later, I believe. But like the kindness and eagerness to be a both an encouragement and a resource to, and I wasn't the only one, to other comedians, was such a beautiful attribute. And they talk about it a little bit in because Judd Apatow and Mike Bonifiglio made a two-part George Carlin doc on HBO a couple of years ago, with the help of his daughter Kelly Carlin, who's super nice. I've done her podcast, and she didn't even know her dad was really doing this stuff until after he died, and he started. I was like mentioned in his obituary in the New York Times Magazine, but like he was just a person that if you loved comedy and you were working hard, he was down to help you.
I've heard that, and I haven't seen the documentary. I really want to because I know your fan letters are on there or something. You're
No, just my voice. So there was a bunch of when he was kind of like uh, his voice was kind of transitioning and he was changing and stuff like that. There was all these fan emails and like they had comedians read those like fan emails from the
oh,
70s. So like Gary Goldman read an email, I read an email. There's a couple of like comedians that like do the voiceover for it, but
oh,
it's
that's
not
nice.
our emails or letters.
Okay, so but I know you sent those to Judd, right, or something that
Yeah, so yeah, I sent because when I heard about it, I hadn't known Judd Apatow at the time, but when I heard they were making it, it was so important for me to know that he was, obviously everybody knows he's a legend, but how kind he was.
hmm.
So, Esty, who books the seller, I asked her if she would either forward my email or introduce me to Judd. And so she forwarded my email to Judd. Judd emailed me, and then Judd was like, send everything to Mike Bonifiglio. So I sent everything to Mike, and I would talk to Mike. They didn't end up using it because obviously they only did 2 episodes and it was going in a different direction. But I do think they did a good job of showing his heart on top of how obviously um, genius and funny he was.
And that probably helped with you getting on the documentary too, right? Like you
Oh yeah,
saying
that,
that,
I thought
yeah.
that was very kind that they asked me to be a part of it, and I was happy to do
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and speaking of Judd, he did this show Crashing that he produced, and fucking love that show. I don't know if you ever saw that on HBO.
I never watched it. That kind of stuff as a comic is it just
It's just
I
weird to
don't know.
you. It's like,
It's weird and it's also fantasy and it's just not how it works and it's hard not to be like sure. Like to know he's a comedian and he's making it seem so easy is infuriating. Um
well, I mean, he does show like barking, and stuff in the show. So like, I don't think it's as, I mean, I don't know. I just liked it a lot, but I'm not a
yeah,
comedian. I did
for
try
sure.
once. I did
Nice.
try. I went up on stage at an open mic and sucked, and it was awful. It was the worst day of my life, and it was bad. And then I wrote to the guy who like set it up, and he said, "Dude, thank you for, first of all, thank you for coming out, but I just want to let you know you came at the worst day because that was like a normal open mic night, but like professional comedians showed up that night. So no matter what you were going to do, you were going to be because I was the only one who hadn't, like, that was my first time ever. And I think
Yeah,
he was
but
trying to
people should.
encourage me to do it some more, but once I got on stage, I realized once I started doing it that this wasn't my, this wasn't for
For sure.
me.
And I think sometimes you need to do it to know that this isn't either worth the anxiety or isn't what you want. Um, and that's always the weird thing about people going to school for something they've never actually done. And then they go and do it and realize they hate it and they spent all this money and all this time studying it. It's like, I just think that's why like work programs and internships are so important when you're, trying to decide what you want to be when you grow up because, imagine going to school for 7, 8 years, become a doctor, and be like, "Ooh, I hate this."
Right.
Like Jesus,
You definitely love what you do, and
I
it
do.
shows in your comedy. Because it seems so natural, and I don't know if that's something that you had to learn or if that just was something you naturally did.
I think to find my voice, like I think it took a long time. I think the writing and knowing who I am and how I feel started to come over time about a bit quicker. So I think my written voice was came a lot earlier than my stage presence voice because I was just really scared for people to see how angry I was. I still sometimes get embarrassed about how angry I am, but I think when I stopped shielding my authentic side and my real feelings, good, bad, ugly, whatever, is when I really started to one love performing it. Like I used to love writing it, but like performing was, not always as was a bit scarier and not always as fulfilling, but I think the performing aspect got stronger and started to become more fulfilling and I started to feel more connection from the audience when I was bringing who I am off stage, good, bad, and ugly, on stage, and stopped being scared of how people felt about it. And I think that's where my voice really started to kind of take shape.
Well, actually, so another thought in my head today was like the comedy is being told, and this is by people who don't do comedy, so, or whatever. But people think that like comedy is harder nowadays because everybody's so offended by everything like that. And I don't know. I haven't really seen a lot of people change their comedy routine or whatever. Is that, do you feel like it's been harder now recently?
Um, no, I mean, people misinterpret stuff and people get offended. I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword in some ways because being not even being offensive, people just being offended. Like I don't my goal isn't to be offensive. My goal is to make people laugh. But people being offended or not liking me or even just being an asshole does help you algorithmically with people seeing your work, right? But I mean, I post online so that I'm touring, so that you can come see me live. That's all I want. I just want people to enjoy my comedy, watch my specials because I care about them. But more importantly, the goal is for you to see me live. I make most of my money doing live, and my favorite thing to do is perform live. And uh, I think it's this catch 22 of you know by being offensive or being seen as offensive, people see you, and by being seeing more people see you, and then in that way people are talking about you. But that's not, I mean, I people think I'm offensive and it's not even the goal, and I mostly talk about cats. So it's really everybody lives such different lives and everybody interprets things through their own filter, right?
Right.
That I can say something as easily as, you know, I like cats better than dogs. Something personal. I personally like cats better than dogs. And people are like, oh, what a monster. She doesn't like dogs. That's not what I said. I just said I like cats better than dogs. No, anybody that doesn't have a dog is a monster. And you're just like, what is happening right now?
It's
You
a
are
lot of it's
selectively,
clickbait, right?
yeah, but they're also selectively listening to what they want to hear. I
Right.
mean, and that's how it is with any joke where it's like my most of my friends, their goals is just to say something funny with their perspective. Is their perspective the end all be all? No, it's just how
Mm.
they feel. And then somebody comes in and they're like, what a monster. And you're like, dude, there's real monsters out there. It ain't me.
Yeah.
you know? So it is also silly that like in no way do I think this is going to be offensive. And to see the dialogue is wild.
That is crazy because you seem like one of the most kindest people I've ever seen. So, like, I don't understand how anybody could be like, I don't like this chick, I mean, well, I guess if you say, if they think in their head, she doesn't like dogs, so she's not a dog person, so blah, blah, blah. And,
But you also have to understand, some people just don't like women. So it doesn't matter what I say. The
mm,
fact that I'm a woman talking with a fan base, they're never going to even listen to the content. They already hate it. So I get hate just from existing and being a target from putting myself out there. Then you have the content. And then the fact that I'm an angry person, Louis C.K. is angry, Bill Burr is angry, Ronnie Chang is angry. But I swear, if we did the same jokes and posted them, most of my comments are going to be like, what a bitch, what an ungrateful c word, everything you can think of. And it could
mhm.
be the same joke as Ronnie Chang, it could be the same joke as Bill Burr. But because I'm not allowed to be angry because I'm a woman, or the fact that I look like I'm younger than I actually am, or just the fact that I'm uh being honest about my experience, and every guy is like, she doesn't even know, and you're just like, well, this isn't about you. So I think that's the other thing, is just me existing as an outspoken woman already gets me twice as much hate as most people, or
I
most male comedians.
I get that because I see it when I see female comedians, women comedians talking, they tend to get like if somebody doesn't like what they're saying or whatever, usually guys, they'll start attacking them and saying, "Oh, another female comedian saying this or whatever." And then when I go and I actually say I thought it was hilarious, I get called like a simp for agreeing with you.
Every time. It's so crazy. Somebody was just like, this ungrateful bitch. And somebody would be like, actually, what she's trying to say is da da da. And they'll be like, fucking simp. She's never going to fuck you, dude. And they're like, what? I'm married. Like, it's always like
Like
so funny where you're like, just the act of being like, hey, maybe don't attack a woman you've never met before. It's wild. So, like, I don't fight those battles anymore. I don't care. It's very nice when my fans do, but I've also I remember this so clearly. I remember two people were fighting under which is good for the algorithm, but it was getting insane. It was going on for weeks, weeks. And I finally was like, knock it off. Get a life, both of you. This is insane.
that for weeks, yeah, that might
Weeks.
it might be a
It
bit
was
too
also during
much.
the pandemic, so
Oh,
nobody was
well,
doing
yeah.
anything, but it was still like, guys, go
I mean,
watch a movie.
yeah, go watch my special,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Fight over there. That'll help it.
Yeah. But no, I get it because like it gets to be really obnoxious. So people think like I mean, people think they can say whatever they want in social media, and it gets to be just obnoxious. And I'm just like, I try to be nice to everybody, and then when I actually got called rude yesterday, because I told somebody because I'm sick of this one thing, and maybe I shouldn't have said anything, but like somebody was upset about a was it a bassist dying from Limp Bizkit and
Mhm.
everything, and I didn't know who that was, so I looked it up, and everything, and there's one person on the thing goes, "Who?" And I was like, this person's really upset right now, why don't you go and like I said something like go why don't you go Google who
Yeah.
the person is instead of saying instead of being rude and saying who. And then the person goes saying the person who said that rudely. And then
Yeah.
another person was like, chill dog, chill bro. And I'm the like why am I the bad guy here? Like and then all of a sudden somebody was like, because my last name's Moody, they were like, oh, he's living up to his name. And I'm like,
And you just want to be like, guys, what are we doing here?
I
What
didn't
is,
say anything, I did not respond. I'm just like, I wanted to laugh and just put a laugh reaction, just be like, this is
yeah,
over because this is dumb.
yeah.
Like, why like I shouldn't have responded like that, but like it's just to me it just
Yeah,
gets
but there's also
obnoxious.
there's no tone. Think about how many, just even in text messages with people you know, get misinterpreted,
Hmm.
right? Because there's no tone. I That's actually why I love emojis, is because you can say the same thing, you put a little smiley face emoji and you know you're being sarcastic or silly or tongue in cheek, you know? But if they don't even know you and there's no emojis and you put it out there, like even I've read stuff and I'm like, what a fucking piece. And then I see they have a smiley face and I was like, oh, they're being silly. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But it's like, if I can misinterpret a text from somebody I've known for 20 years, imagine misinterpreting a text from a person you've never met. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
I tend to like, I get sent so much garbage that like, even, and I can even see sometimes I'll have a big reaction and I'd be like, oh, time to get off the internet. None of this matters.
it doesn't, but like I don't know why I get heated. I do. Like I get really mad when somebody says something like, and I gotta just like let it go, because otherwise it's just gonna eat me inside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also this doesn't define you, right?
Right.
Somebody thinking you suck, somebody thinking you're rude, somebody thinking whatever, it doesn't define you. Somebody saying you're not funny to me, it's it's not true. It's not true. You might not like me. That can be valid. But saying I'm not funny when I've made a full career, like
Hmm.
I am. I'm not for you, valid, true. But saying I'm not funny actually in this situation is untrue. I made a whole career out of it. Most people believe that it's true. So it's like to me I have to just let go of people have strong personal feelings. They're allowed to have this strong personal feelings. They don't see me as a human in any way, whether it's because I'm a woman or just because this is the nature of the internet. And I have to just go, all right, I'm not for them. I'm never going to be for them. And it really has helped me even let go from things like we were talking about before. There's some people I'm never going to be friends with, whether it's because I'm too aggressive, whether we just have different viewpoints or whatever. But as somebody that also is a recovering people pleaser, the internet has taught me to be like, I'm not for everybody, and that's okay.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I want to switch topics real quick. I do want to talk about cats because that seems
Of
to be a
course,
really big. You've got a couple of them right
they're
there behind
sleeping.
us. Oh, finally, right?
Yeah, I know. They were
Like
very active at the beginning of this
they
interview.
were, but I love cats. I love dogs. I guess because I thought of myself as like I'm not an introvert and I'm not an extrovert. I'm an ambivert, right?
Yeah.
So am I an animal vert too? Like, is that
Yes.
a thing? Because I'm gonna make that
It
a thing.
has to be.
Yeah. So, I like both, both animals. So if you say I don't like dogs, I'd be like, okay, like
But that's
personally,
the thing.
I
I absolutely love dogs. I mean, I can't even carry a conversation if one passes me. It's
right.
just I prefer my lifestyle, both as somebody that travels for a living
Mm.
and my laziness prefers cats. The fact that I never have to rush home to walk my cat. The fact that I can set up an automatic feeder and leave them alone for 2 days. Like I miss them deeply and I was even talking with my mom how much I would love to get a dog, but it would ruin my life. And you know what I mean? The same way a child would ruin my life. So I think also like from giving an animal their best life, the best life I can give an animal is a cat and
I
maybe a lizard.
I have a cat and he does walk with me,
I
on
do kind of
walks.
want to walk my cats if I'm being honest.
Yeah. He walks, he goes to the park, with my family and I, whatever, and it's sweet. He's, when I'm so excited for Halloween because last Halloween this kid came to the door and the first thing he said was, "Where's Obi?" Like not
Oh,
trick or treat, but where's
yeah.
Obi? And I was like, he
Good.
was around here somewhere running around, like, because he's like
Yeah.
was it? So I love that you love cats and that you made a whole book, during, I guess, like post-pandemic kind of time, right? And stuff that you
I was
released it.
writing it during the pandemic and it came out I think in 2021.
Yeah, and it's called Why Cats Are Assholes, if I'm correct.
Yep. Yep.
And that is wonderful. Like, and I watched your like little I did some research and I watched your little video that you
Piece.
did where you did the reading,
Hmm.
of it and stuff because I want to hear some of it and everything. And I just love that you talk about names and stuff and everything. What's like what's the best name that you've ever heard of a cat for a cat?
It was so I got both my cats at the Meow Parlor, which is a cat cafe that's also a shelter. So you can go and pay $20 to play with these cats, and all the cats are up for adoption. So it's also a shelter where you can adopt them. So that's in Chinatown in New York City. So that's where I got both my cats, whose names are Ghost and Lunchbox, which I think are
Mhm.
quality names.
I like
But
that.
thank you. I follow Meow Parlor on Instagram, so I see when they get new cats that need to be adopted. And the best name I've ever seen is Unlimited Breadsticks.
I think you said that on the thing. So yeah,
It'll never get better than that. Like that's.
unlimited breadsticks.
But I also have a list. I collect animal names. I say cat names, but animal names. So like um uh my brother was living with my parents for a while and they're in the south and there was this frog. We think it was the same frog. It seemed like the same frog was coming every day.
Mhm.
And my brother texts me and my sisters. He's like, "Hey, here's a picture of this frog. It seems to be coming every day for the last week. We obviously need to name it. Please send suggestions." And I gave a bunch of suggestions and mine was head of security. Like I love a good silly name. I love a description. I love any name that gives them like a position or a doctorate they didn't deserve or a Mrs., a Mister,
Doctor.
yeah, a general, whatever. So I mean, to me, they're not going to college. And I really do think having a medical professional call you up and having to use that name, right? Like I had a cat, sadly he died from feline leukemia, so I only had him
Oh, I'm
for,
sorry.
yeah, his name was Revenge Abs.
Revenge
Um,
abs.
so when I was writing the book, I had my first cat Pasta, and then she died of cancer at 16 in 2021. Yeah, end of 2021. Um, and then I got a cat, named him Tater Tots. He died of FIP. Um, and then I got Revenge Abs, and then Revenge Abs died of feline leukemia. I had a real bad run post pandemic, a lot of depression and
That's
whatever.
terrible.
And that's actually why I ended up getting two cats because I was like, I cannot do this. Somebody needs to live. And that's how I got Lunchbox and Ghost. But, that naming process, it was funny because, I only had Tater Tots for a month and a half before he died. I was waiting for him to gain weight to get him neutered, and he wasn't gaining weight. And then he seemed weird, and that's why I took him to the doctor. But like somebody was like, well, just name the next one Tater Tots. I was like, excuse me? That's so Tater Tots died. That would be like if I had a child that died and then somebody's like, well, just name this one Brian. What do we do? That's insane. That's crazy town. So, I do think it's personal. I think, I have their ashes, I have their little whiskers. I think about them. Um, I don't know. I also just think it's get as silly, weird, or as normal as you'd like it to be.
Yeah, a friend of mine has two cats, Boris and Natasha. So,
Oh
you
yeah, I
know,
love it. A little bit
yeah.
of a Russian vibe.
Well, it's from what Rocky and Bullwinkle,
Oh
So
yeah, I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah,
Which
so
my mom had two when my mom was when she had her cat clinic, she had two clinic cats named Rocky and Bullwinkle.
yeah, there you go.
I
And
love it.
I mean, I had a Rocky as a dog, and a lot of times I feel like a lot of dog names, some of them are very overused and everything, Like,
Yeah.
I love picking animal names. We picked Obi is not actually Obi, that's just the nickname, but his actual full name is Oberyn. He's like Prince Oberyn from Game of Thrones. So
Oh,
it's
I
like,
love it. Well, that's
yeah,
the other thing is you never actually call them their Christian name,
right.
you
You
know?
know,
So
yeah,
like I have Ghost and Lunchbox, but it's lunchy, it's ghosty, lunch. I called him the lunch special the other day. My boyfriend lost his mind. He's like the lunch special. Oh my God, that's so good. So it's like they all have 16 names. They answer to none of them.
of course not,
Yeah.
because cats, well, I don't know. My cat is like a dog, I swear to God. Like not just the walking with me, but like cuz when he came he was a stray. So like he didn't really know what he was necessarily. And then we got a dog and then he jumped on the dog. Like,
Yeah.
and I thought, "Oh my God, he's going to kill him." Like or kill
Yeah.
her, And then he started licking the dog. And I think he thought that was his mom. So he thought, "Okay, this is what dogs do. This is what I do." And since then, he still is a cat. Like he will knock shit down and, do whatever he wants to do. But he also, if you call him by name, he'll come, and he's happy like that. I don't know. It's weird.
Mine respond to shaking food and like
Yeah,
that's about it.
that's it.
But
And other
I
than
mean, their
that,
ears will go up when I say their names, but they're like, that seems not. That doesn't seem like it's for me.
that's not for me. I'll get it when
They're
I
like,
feel
she
like
must
it.
be calling a different ghost.
And so yeah, Lunchbox. Whenever I hear that name, I think of Kevin Smith. I don't know, it's weird, but like Kevin Smith used to be called Lunchbox.
Oh, I
When
didn't know
with
that.
Jay and Silent Bob. So was it Jay would be like, "Let's go Lunchbox," and stuff like that. So whenever I hear that, it's like, "Oh my God, that's really cool!" Like I
Oh, that's
actually,
interesting. I
you
didn't
know,
even get that from that. Yeah, I literally collect like 80s and 90s lunchboxes.
so you're just like Lunchbox, like okay,
Yeah.
let's just. That's
They're
cool.
really
Like I love like you just come up with names, period,
it's
you
silly,
know.
silly names.
Yeah, I mean, we had a cat named Moxie,
Nice.
that was named after the New England drink. I don't know if you ever had one of those, but
Mm.
the sodas are pretty bad. My dad liked it. So when I was a kid, we got that cat, and then we got another cat named Chili. So,
Yeah. I
just
love a food name.
I know I saw that about in the breeding, I guess. You're like Taco Bell or something. It's
Yeah.
like
Any kind of food. My sister had a cat named Avocado that she named like she called Avo, and she now has a cat named Arugula she calls Rue. So
that's
she
awesome.
went healthier. I honestly I went for carbs with pasta and tater tots.
My we just realized like my niece likes names with G's, you know?
Hmm.
So she had one named Gemma, one named Gage, and one named Grim,
Yeah,
and
perfect. I love it.
like
I love a theme.
yeah, I don't even know if she did that on purpose. She just
Yeah.
happened that happened to be the thing. So I guess I don't know if she'll get another cat at some point. She might name it something else. I don't. I love cats. I mean, I am more of a dog person. I think I grew up more with dogs and stuff, and I feel like more people who grew up with certain like I'm sure you grew up with more with cats, right?
Kind of both. So we grew up with dogs, cats, lizards, ferrets, gerbils, uh, uh, snakes, like you name it, rats, like you name a pet, we had it. But my mom, so both my parents are veterinarians, and then we lived next to my mom's all cat clinic. So I think it was also like so much more cat centric. I would do my homework in the lobby of the cat clinic. You know, I don't know. I think my older sister always has a dog, but me and my brothers, all the younger siblings, are more cat people.
Yeah, I mean, and you said before, like it kind of suits your lifestyle right now and everything. Like it's easier to take care of them. You don't need to do a lot of stuff. You can just, have them in the house, or
Yeah.
whatever. So I totally agree with that. I just for me, I don't know. I guess because I would always walk the dogs and I would always do that for a long time. Those are what I liked. And the last dog we had was when my mom passed away, that dog became my dog and
Yeah.
everything. And he didn't last very long. He didn't last like even a year after my mom died because he was just too heartbroken. But he got very attached and very, and whatnot. He was old,
Yeah.
but anyway, let's I guess so what have you sort of been up to lately? Like, are you just doing shows? Do you got anything else going on these days?
Yeah, so I had a special come out last month called Space Camp, which is on punchup.live/Liz Miele. I am actually taping another special in a couple of weeks, November 6th, in Boston, which is, a completely different hour. The closer in that hour is a story about a cruise I did, and that was such a odd, insane experience that I actually am turning that into a movie. So I've
What? Nice.
Yeah, so I've finished the outline and I'm starting to actually physically write it. It has some problems, so I'm trying to figure that out. But that I'm writing into a movie, which I've only written pilots for like shows and stuff, so this is going to be a big undertaking. But then also the closing joke from Space Camp, which is actually about how my boyfriend got a botched vasectomy.
Oops.
Yeah, he's fine. I make that very clear. He's fine. Everything's fine. Um, but it's about 3 months into dating him, he gets this vasectomy and it goes awry. And that's a very, not we didn't know each other that well. Um, so that's the closing joke of Space Camp, and I actually wrote a pilot about that called Biggest Balls in Brooklyn. And that pilot, I'm taking some of the scenes and I'm turning that into like small they call them verticals, like little scenes or whatever.
Mhm.
So I'm actually I just finished filming those, and I hope to put those out soon, one by one, to go along with the release. Because right now, the special's on Punch Up, but eventually it'll be on YouTube. So like I'm making things and writing stuff, and I started So during the pandemic, I started doing a new material workshop show called Zoom Diner, where me and two other comics would do 5 minutes of new material, and then in front of an audience would give each other notes, tags, tell stories, give ideas or whatever. And it was super successful. It was super fun. I did it twice a month. I would have like 200 people, around the country and world come. Um, it was pay what you want. People were really kind and generous. I was able to pay the comics really well. And I actually wrote so much material during the pandemic that people were shocked that I probably wrote 85% of the hour I put out in 2021 from Zoom Diner, and I've been wanting to do a live version of it. And so I just did the first live version. I renamed it First Draft Feelings. Um, so I did a live version in Brooklyn this week that went really well. And so I'm actually editing that together because there's like a panel, right? You have the person doing the stand up and then the two comedians giving notes. So I have to edit that together, but I'm going to do that as both a podcast and put it out on YouTube. So physically did it, gonna put it out, and then now I have to start preparing for the next live one. But that's like a live show that turned into it's just an idea, and we'll see what happens.
See, that's the beautiful thing. Like I think like you're kind of like me because I write a lot, or whatever. Like I write a lot of scripts. I've written a lot of pilots this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what will happen with them because unfortunately it's not as easy. Like I started to sort of realize making a pilot is the TV world is different. Like I know John Mulaney did I think it was John Mulaney was doing like no, it was Matt Rife got a was it a job doing like a sitcom that in a gym or something, or whatever. Well, I'm like, well, that's Matt Rife. He is way more famous than I am, like or whatever. And and he probably has his own writers who have, whatever. Me, I can't really just sell a script, like you can't just go up there and say, "Hey, Mr. Apatow, will you, like whatever." It's not that easy. It's like you got to get an agent. The agent's got to vet you and then get you in there. And then most likely what will happen is they'll read your script and say, "Well, this is great. Would you like to be a staff writer on this other show?"
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to like doing an independent film is much easier because then you're in control of it. You can do whatever you want. So I've kind of been going more in that realm. And I think you can also make an independent TV show these days, like with the
And that's
technology.
I think that's the route. As less stuff is getting made, less people are taking financial risks. But you have 4K on your phone,
Hmm.
and you can. I think for me, if the number one goal is to create and the number two goal is for people to see my creation, I can do that today very easily. It might only be 10 people. It might not be Brad Pitt and big stars or whatever in it, but I can write something, make something, have people see it, right? And I'm fortunate with stand up, it's even easier in the sense that I just need you can use a small venue, right? You can use a venue. You could do it. You could do a special in front of 20 people. Who gives a fuck? And you can put it out and only, 700 people see your video, but that's more than nobody. And I think that's where you start. And yes, does everybody want to have thousands and thousands of fans? And does everybody want to make thousands and thousands of dollars? Sure. But you could start with 10 fans and you can start with $10. And I think that's one of the reasons I am successful is that my goal is not is to make it because I like making it, but my goal is to put it out, and if even 10 people see it, I've already
Hmm.
accomplished something.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like that's why me and my company are doing like a short, coming up, or whatever in the winter. And just to keep us active creatively, because I feel like that happens a lot where you just don't do anything after a while,
Yeah.
and stuff. And if you don't, you're gonna dry up a little bit, But I mean, it's different for you now because you're in the thick of it. Like you're constantly doing something, There's
Yeah.
and you just told me like five things that you're working on or whatever, you know, like I mean, and that's wonderful because it's a lot of work, but it's
Yeah.
you're constantly doing it every day, and you know, and that's wonderful. If you could like tell somebody that you know, like a up and coming comedian, you know, like some kind of sage like advice, you know, that might help them get through like a day doing this, what would you say?
I mean, it all depends on where they are and what their goals are. I think I really learned a lot later than most people that not all my friends and not all comedians have the same goal. Um, I think, like I said, because my goal is to write and be creative and be funny, if that's you can do that with nobody, right? You can do that on your own. You can write every day, you can film something every day, you can do something crafty every day and nobody's stopping you. And the people that allow the aspect of the business, right? Somebody picking you, somebody accepting you, somebody giving you encouragement, somebody saying, praise, giving you, telling you a good job, and somebody giving you a bigger outlet. Those are obviously the goals because it makes it easier and you can make money that way. But don't let acceptance, praise, and being picked stop you from creating if it's what already makes you happy. I mean, whenever I've had any roadblock or felt depressed or uh, somehow not making any forward motion in my career, I always tell myself I'm not going to let anybody tell me I can't do my favorite thing, and that always pushes me through, getting rejected or not accomplishing something I wanted or whatever, because I'll just find another way for me to, one, do the thing that I want to do, and two, find a way to present it to the people that I think would like it.
That's wow, that's thank you. That's wonderful. I just want to say thank you so much. This was an incredible like interview with you. Like I just had a lot of I feel like I got to know you really, really well and everything. And I think I've heard I think I can feel that way through a lot of your stand up period, you know, you it's a lot of it's just you being honest about, you know, your feelings and everything. So it's almost like therapy, I guess, a little bit, you know, right? Getting
Yeah, I
that
needed
stuff
real
out.
therapy to get through life, but
Yeah. But then that helps, you know, and I'm sure was there a joke or something that you said to your therapist? Your therapist was like, please don't put that in your
My therapist has always been really encouraging, and I've actually sent when stuff she said or I've said to her gets in the act. I go, "Hey, this did well. Here you go." She's pretty great. Um, but yeah, I mean, to me, I'm even more honest in therapy, so that's always there's always something coming out of me that I was like, "Oh, I didn't know I felt that way."
Well, they know how to do that. Like that's their
Yeah,
job, you
yeah,
know. I would hope, you know,
yeah.
otherwise you
She's
may,
good.
yeah. So there you go. But thank you so much. How can people reach you? Like, how for Instagram or any
Oh,
other?
I'm on literally everything at Liz Miele. So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, you name it, I'm on it. The only caveat is Reddit. I didn't get my name, and I'm like pirate bitch 22 or something. Like I'm like, who knows what my name is? So when I post
Okay.
on Reddit, I have to be like, if you click on my name, you'll see that it's me. But it is kind of funny that like I want to. I my new goal in my career is to find somebody at Reddit so that they will give me my name.
They'll give you your name back, so it's an official name, right?
Yeah, but
You know,
everything is at Liz Mealy.
nobody stole your name, right? Like, there's
Nobody
no.
stole it. It's just I didn't. I joined Reddit and then I wasn't use. I didn't know how to use it. And then when I started figuring out how to use it, and stand up comedy r/slash stand up comedy actually had value. I didn't realize you have 2 days when you make your account to change it.
Oh
And I
wow.
already built up, like, people are already following me and stuff like that, and it's kind of too late to start
To
over.
start over, yeah. A lot of my friends are like getting kicked off of Facebook for whatever reason. There's like little things or whatever, and it's just driving everybody nuts. And
Yeah,
I'm like, I feel like Facebook is going away like more, you know, like
yeah,
they need to
yeah,
step
and
their
they're
game
gonna
up.
be their own demise.
Yeah, which kind of sucks. But Instagram, I see you on Instagram all the time and TikTok and everything. Are you on Twitter too?
I stopped my Twitter. I didn't delete it because you don't want to make your name available and then somebody pretends to be you.
You're right.
So I've left everything up, but like I think my last tweet is like find me on Threads and Blue
Okay.
Sky or
Blue
whatever. Yeah.
Sky or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people left Twitter, so I'm not
Yeah.
like that's why I was like, wait, I don't think you mentioned that earlier that you were on it,
Yeah.
you know. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Check out Liz. I'll leave a link down there. Do you have like a website too? Is there like
Yep. LizMiele.com.
there you go. So I'll leave all the information there for everybody to check out, and hopefully you get a few more fans, like and everything. So,
Yeah. I'll
um,
take all of them.
yeah, take all. Well, thank you, and everybody. I hope you guys had a good one. See you later. Bye.
Bye.